First contact and invasion. The massive Saurian warship Invictus hung like a jagged obsidian knife against the backdrop of stars. On its command bridge, High Commander Vex studied the holographic display of the unassuming solar system before him. His scaled hide, armored by evolution for the crushing gravity and caustic atmosphere of his homeworld Saurus Prime, reflected the dim amber lighting of the bridge. Another primitive system, High Commander, reported Sub-Commander Krell, her voice carrying the characteristic rasp of their species. Third Planet shows signs of technological civilization, but nothing that approaches our capabilities. Vex's vertical pupils narrowed as he focused on the blue-green world rotating slowly in the projected display. Curious. The atmospheric composition is primarily nitrogen and oxygen. Surface gravity approximately 1/3 of Saurian standard. Average temperatures well within the temperate range. A soft world, Krell observed with obvious disdain. Indeed, Vex extended a clawed hand, manipulating the hologram to zoom in on the planet's surface. And yet they've developed radio communications, nuclear fission, and have even sent primitive vessels to their moon. The science officer, Thex, approached with measured steps. Even on the gravity-regulated deck of the warship, the Saurians moved with the deliberate care that came from evolving on a world where a misstep could mean broken bones. High Commander, initial scans confirm the inhabitants are carbon-based, oxygen-breathing mammals. They call themselves humans and their planet Earth. Their bodies contain no natural armor, possess minimal physical strength by our standards, and require frequent periods of unconsciousness for rest. A low, rumbling sound emanated from Vex's throat, the Saurian equivalent of laughter. And these creatures have achieved spaceflight. Perhaps they will make useful servants, at least. The Saurian Empire had encountered many species during their 3 centuries of expansion. Born on a world of crushing gravity, toxic acid rain, and extreme temperature fluctuations, the Saurians had evolved into the perfect survivors. Dense bones, redundant organs, armor-like scales, and immense physical strength. When they developed interstellar travel, they discovered that most other sentient species had evolved on far more hospitable worlds, making them physically inferior and easily conquered. Prepare a detailed analysis of their defenses and technologies, Vex ordered. I want to know what resources this planet contains that might be of use to the Empire. Within days, the Saurian intelligence teams had compiled extensive data on human civilization. Vex reviewed the reports with growing confidence. The humans had divided themselves into competing nation-states. Their weapons were primitive projectiles and crude explosives, and their most advanced spacecraft could barely maintain orbit around their own planet. Their world is rich in rare minerals and abundant water, Krell noted. They've hardly begun to tap the resources of their own system. Vex made his decision. We will claim this system for the Empire. Begin military preparations. With respect, High Commander, Vex interjected, I've noticed something unusual in my analysis of human history. Oh. Vex turned his massive head toward the science officer. They adapt with remarkable speed. Their technological development has accelerated dramatically in just the last century, and they show unusual resourcefulness when faced with challenges. Vex dismissed the concern with a wave of his clawed hand. All species struggle to survive, Vex, but strength is determined by the crucible in which one evolves. Our ancestors survived the hellscape of Saurus Prime for millions of years. These humans evolved on a garden world with abundant resources. They know nothing of true hardship. As you say, High Commander. The invasion fleet assembled within the week. 5 massive warships, each carrying thousands of Saurian warriors in battle armor. Vex addressed his commanders before deployment. This planet will fall quickly. Their gravity is so low that our warriors will move with unprecedented speed and strength. Their weapons cannot penetrate our natural armor, let alone our battle suits. We expect minimal resistance. The fleet positioned itself behind the gas giant humans called Jupiter, using it as cover while they finalized their attack strategy. Vex decided to send a single scout ship to a human outpost orbiting one of Jupiter's moons, a simple mining operation according to their intelligence. A small demonstration of our power should be sufficient, he explained to his officers. Once they see the futility of resistance, the rest will surrender. The scout ship, still 10 times larger than the human mining station, approached with weapons charge. On the station, alarms blared as the massive alien vessel appeared on their scanners. Station Commander Elena Reyes assessed the situation with remarkable calm. Unknown vessel approaching. Size and configuration suggest it's not from Earth or any known human faction. Her second-in-command, Dr. Kwame Okafor, stared at the tactical display in disbelief. First contact, and they're coming in hot. Those energy readings, they're powering weapons. Reyes made a split-second decision. Evacuate non-essential personnel to the emergency pods. Activate defense protocols. Commander, our defenses are designed for asteroid deflection, not combat, warned Chief Engineer Hammond. Then we get creative, Reyes replied, her mind racing. The mining lasers, can they be redirected? Hammond blinked twice, then grinned. They're designed to cut through titanium-dense ice formations. I can recalibrate the focusing arrays. The Saurian scout ship fired a warning shot that passed harmlessly beside the station, a demonstration of power designed to induce immediate surrender. Instead, the station's external lights shut down, giving the appearance of catastrophic systems failure. They're disabled, reported the scout ship's captain to Vex, preparing to board and secure survivors. As the Saurian vessel moved closer, the station suddenly powered up again. 5 industrial mining lasers, normally used for cutting through the hardest ice on Jupiter's moons, fired simultaneously. They had been hastily recalibrated to target what appeared to be sensor arrays and weapon emplacements on the alien ship. The Saurian captain was caught completely off guard. The humans are fighting back. They've weaponized their mining equipment. Before he could adjust shields, a small maintenance craft launched from the station. Instead of fleeing, it headed directly toward the Saurian vessel, attaching itself to a blind spot the lasers had created by disabling an external sensor array. Commander Reyes, leading a small team in heavy EVA suits, cut through the Saurian hull using industrial plasma torches. Remember, she told her team over the comm, we're looking for engine systems or anything that looks like a power core. On his flagship, Vex watched with mounting disbelief as the signal from the scout ship suddenly went silent. What happened? He demanded. Krell checked the readings multiple times. The scout ship's engines have exploded, High Commander. The humans somehow targeted the power core. Impossible, Vex growled. A mining station defeating a warship. The evidence suggests otherwise, Vex said quietly. Vex's scales flushed a deeper green with anger. Prepare the full invasion force immediately. These humans are more resourceful than anticipated. We will crush them before they become a real threat. But for the first time in his long military career, Vex felt an unfamiliar sensation creeping along his spine. Doubt. As the Saurian fleet moved toward Earth, humanity received the warning from Jupiter's mining station. The nations of Earth, faced with irrefutable evidence of hostile alien contact, did something unprecedented in human history. They united completely within days. They're coming, Commander Reyes reported to the hastily assembled Earth Defense Council. And they're not interested in dialogue. General Wei of the Chinese Space Forces nodded grimly. Then we prepare for the fight of our lives. Admiral Khatri of the Indian Navy leaned forward. They clearly underestimated us once. Let's make sure they regret doing it again. As the massive Saurian warships broke through Earth's orbit, High Commander Vex broadcast across all frequencies. Inhabitants of Earth, your resistance is futile. Surrender now, and some of you may live as servants of the Saurian Empire. The humans sent no response. The silence was unusual and unsettling. They have given up, Sub-Commander Krell suggested. After seeing our power, They know fighting is useless. But Vex was no longer so certain. Scan for traps. These humans have proven unpredictable. The scans showed nothing unusual. The cities below seemed defenseless. Begin landing operations, Vex ordered. I will lead the first wave myself. As the Saurian dropships descended toward Earth, Vex didn't realize he was playing directly into humanity's hands. The silence wasn't surrender. It was the calm calculation of a species that had spent its entire existence adapting to overcome challenges. And now they faced their greatest challenge yet: adaptation and resistance. Vex chose to land the first wave in Earth's massive Sahara Desert. His tactical reasoning was sound. The hot, arid conditions most closely resembled certain regions of Saurus Prime, giving his troops a familiar environment. 5,000 Saurian warriors in full battle armor descended onto the golden sands, the temperature reading a comfortable 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Spread out and establish a perimeter, Vex commanded, feeling energized in the intense heat. The lower gravity of Earth allowed him to move with unprecedented speed and agility, despite his massive frame. Where are the human defenders? Scans indicate a military installation 30 miles north, reported Krell. Perhaps they've retreated there. The Saurian troops began their march across the burning desert, their heavy bodies leaving deep imprints in the sand. The yellow sun beat down mercilessly, perfect conditions for the cold-blooded Saurians, whose biology thrived in high temperatures. 3 hours into their march, however, something unexpected began to happen. The front lines of Saurian troops started to slow, then falter. High Commander called a soldier, his breathing labored. Something is wrong. Vex watched in disbelief as warriors began dropping to their knees, their normally efficient movements becoming sluggish. What is happening? He demanded. Vex, monitoring the situation from the command ship, made a startling discovery. High Commander, it's Earth's atmosphere. It contains much higher oxygen levels than Saurus Prime. Combined with the lower gravity, our soldiers' muscles are working differently here. Explain, Vex demanded, feeling unusual fatigue himself. Our biology evolved for a high-gravity, low-oxygen world, Vex explained. Here, our muscles are working too efficiently. They're producing excess heat faster than our bodies can disperse it. Our troops are essentially overheating from within. Impossible, Vex roared. We are the strongest species in the galaxy. Strongest on your world, perhaps, came a voice from nearby. Colonel Amara Nasser stood atop a sand dune, wearing only a light desert uniform despite the blistering heat. Behind her, human soldiers in desert camouflage rose from beneath the sand where they had been hidden, weapons ready. How are you surviving in this heat? Vex demanded, the temperature now reaching 135 degrees. Colonel Nasser smiled grimly. Humans evolved in Africa, not far from here. We learned to survive extreme heat long before we had technology. Our bodies sweat to cool down. We can endure conditions that would kill most species. She pointed to the struggling Saurian soldiers. You, on the other hand, are dying right now. It was true. Already hundreds of Saurian warriors had collapsed, their armor, designed to protect them in battle, now trapping their excess body heat. Retreat, Vex ordered. Back to the dropships. But as the surviving Saurians struggled back toward their landing craft, they discovered another surprise. Humans had positioned themselves between the aliens and their ships, not soldiers this time, but Tuareg nomads who had lived in the Sahara for thousands of years, people whose ancestors had mastered survival in one of Earth's harshest environments generations ago. Similar scenarios played out across Earth as the Saurian landing forces discovered that humans had turned their planet's diverse environments into weapons. In Siberia, Saurian troops found their cold-blooded biology working against them as temperatures plummeted. In the humid Amazon rainforest, the combination of heat and moisture rendered their respiratory systems inefficient. On his command ship, Vex received reports of failures from every landing zone. How is this possible? He raged. They were supposed to be soft creatures from a gentle world. "We made a critical error in our assessment," Vex admitted. "Earth is not a single environment. It contains almost every type of condition in the galaxy. Humans have adapted to live in all these places." Vex stared at the holographic display showing Earth's varied landscapes, from frozen poles to burning deserts, towering mountains to deep oceans, dense jungles to open plains. "While we evolved to master one harsh world," Vex continued, "they evolved to survive in thousands of microenvironments. This makes them uniquely adaptable." For 2 weeks, the Saurian forces attempted new strategies, adjusting their armor to compensate for Earth's environmental challenges. But at every turn, they found humans had anticipated their moves. When Saurians attacked coastal cities, they discovered their ships targeted by repurposed oil rig equipment. When they landed in mountain regions, they found avalanches triggered by precisely placed explosives. When they attempted to establish bases in the Arctic, humans cut off their heat supplies and exploited their vulnerability to cold. "They're not fighting with superior technology," Sub-Commander Krell observed. "They're using their intimate knowledge of their world as a weapon." Most concerning to Vex was how humans from different regions and cultures seamlessly coordinated their resistance. On most conquered worlds, different factions fought each other even during an invasion, but humans had united completely against the external threat. As the Saurian losses mounted, supply issues emerged. The invasion force had not prepared for a prolonged conflict, expecting Earth to fall within days. "We should request reinforcements from the homeworld," Krell suggested. "And admit failure," Vex snarled. "No, we must adapt our strategy." The turning point came when human forces captured a Saurian forward base in the Australian outback. Led by indigenous trackers who had navigated the harsh landscape for over 60,000 years, a small team infiltrated the base during a dust storm. They disabled the environmental systems, then simply waited as the combination of heat and specialized irritant compounds overwhelmed the Saurian defenders. More importantly, they captured intact Saurian technology, weapons, communication systems, and a functional shuttlecraft. Dr. Kamala Rao, Earth's leading xenobiologist, worked day and night studying the captured technology and biological samples from fallen Saurian soldiers. "Their biology is fascinating," she reported to the Earth Defense Council. "Everything about them evolved for survival on a high-gravity, toxic world. Dense bones, redundant organs, incredible strength. But these adaptations create exploitable weaknesses in Earth conditions." Dr. Rao's team developed new weapons specifically designed to target Saurian vulnerabilities. Sound-based devices that disrupted their sensitive inner ear balance, chemical agents that irritated their respiratory systems, and electromagnetic pulses that interfered with their armor's environmental controls. Meanwhile, engineers reverse-engineered the captured Saurian shuttle, unlocking the secrets of their propulsion and shield technology. 6 weeks into the invasion, humanity was ready to move from defense to offense. The first human counterattack targeted a Saurian command center established in the Gobi Desert. Instead of a frontal assault, local Mongolian herders guided special forces through invisible approaches. The attack came during a sandstorm, using the captured Saurian shuttle to breach the base's defenses from within. The entire command center fell within hours, with minimal human casualties. On his flagship, Vex received the news with growing dread. "They're learning too quickly," he told his remaining officers. "At this rate, they'll not only drive us from their world, but potentially threaten the Empire itself." "High Commander," Vex said carefully, "our long-range sensors have detected unusual activity near Jupiter. The humans appear to be modifying their mining vessels with our technology." Vex stared at the tactical display, a cold realization dawning. They're preparing to take the fight beyond their planet. For the first time in the history of the Saurian Empire, High Commander Vex sent an urgent message to the Imperial Council. "Unexpected complications in Earth campaign. Request immediate strategic consultation." The terse message, so unlike Vex's usually confident reports, sent shockwaves through the council. Within hours, the response came. Withdraw forces to defensive positions. Priority is protection of Imperial core systems. Reinforcements dispatched. But even as Vex began organizing the withdrawal, human ships appeared in Earth orbit, hybridized vessels combining Earth technologies with captured Saurian systems. They moved with surprising speed and agility, targeting the Saurian warships with weapons specifically calibrated to penetrate their shields. How could they adapt our own technology so quickly? Krell demanded as their flagship shuddered under the assault. Because that's what humans do, Vex replied, a new understanding in his voice. They adapt. It's not their bodies that make them strong. It's their minds. Counter-offensive and resolution. 6 months after the initial Saurian invasion, the balance of power had shifted dramatically. The Saurian fleet, once dominant, had been pushed back to the outer reaches of the solar system. Human hybrid vessels, Earth ships retrofitted with adapted Saurian technology, now patrolled Earth orbit, while research outposts on the Moon and Mars have been converted into defensive fortifications. On the Saurian homeworld, the Imperial Council convened an emergency session. The holographic image of High Commander Vex, transmitted from his flagship near Neptune, loomed over the central dais. The humans have proven unexpectedly resourceful, Vex reported, his scaled face showing the strain of repeated defeats. They've not only repelled our forces from their planet, but have adapted our own technology with alarming speed. Elder Counselor Zex, her scales dulled with age, leaned forward. How could creatures from such a soft world accomplish this? That was our fundamental misunderstanding, Vex replied. Earth is not a soft world. It contains nearly every environmental extreme known in the galaxy, from freezing poles to burning deserts, from oxygen-thin mountain peaks to crushing ocean depths. Humans have adapted to survive in all of them. But they have no natural defenses, another counselor protested. No armor, no claws, minimal strength by our standards. Their strength isn't physical, Vex explained. It's their adaptability. While we evolved to master one harsh environment, they evolved to master thousands. Their bodies may seem weak, but their minds are incredibly flexible. The council chamber fell silent as this assessment sank in. For 3 centuries, the Saurian Empire had expanded based on the principle that evolutionary hardship created superior species. Their biology, forged in the crucible of Saurus Prime's extreme conditions, had given them advantages over every species they'd encountered, until now. We've intercepted communications indicating they're preparing an offensive beyond their solar system, Vex continued. I believe they intend to strike at our outlying colonies. Impossible, scoffed a military counselor. They've barely begun to adapt our technology. Science Counselor Mex, who had been quietly analyzing data throughout the meeting, finally spoke. I've been studying the progression of human technological development. 6 months ago, they had just achieved basic spaceflight. Now they're operating ships with modified versions of our drive systems. She projected a chart showing an exponential curve. Their rate of adaptation is unprecedented. If this trend continues, they could potentially surpass our technological level within years, not centuries. The implications were clear and disturbing. For the first time in its history, the Saurian Empire faced a species that could genuinely threaten its existence. Elder Zex made a decision. Prepare our defenses. Recall fleets from non-essential territories to protect the core worlds. On Earth, the United Earth Defense Force prepared for the next phase of the conflict. Commander Elena Reyes, now promoted to admiral after her successful action at Jupiter, addressed the Global Military Command. The Saurians have withdrawn beyond Neptune, but our intelligence suggests they're regrouping, not retreating, she explained. We've learned much about their biology and technology, but we still don't know the full extent of their empire or their military capabilities. Dr. Kamala Rao, who had led the research into Saurian biology, presented her findings. Their physiology gives them tremendous advantages on high-gravity, toxic worlds, the kind of planets we would never consider habitable. This suggests their empire probably includes systems we would have overlooked in our own expansion. So, "What's our strategy?" asked General Wei. "Do we pursue them beyond our solar system, or fortify and prepare for their return?" Admiral Reyes considered the options. "Both. We'll establish defensive perimeters throughout our system, but we also need to understand what we're facing. I'm proposing a reconnaissance mission to the nearest Saurian colony we've identified from their nav data." The mission, codenamed Pathfinder, would consist of 3 ships, hybrid vessels combining Earth and Saurian technology. Admiral Reyes would lead personally, accompanied by Dr. Rao and a multinational crew representing Earth's diverse regions and expertise. 2 weeks later, the Pathfinder fleet departed, using the captured Saurian drive technology to reach the edge of the solar system in days rather than years. They made the jump to the nearest Saurian-controlled system, emerging near a volcanic moon orbiting a massive gas giant. Sensors show a Saurian military installation embedded in the largest mountain range, reported the tactical officer. Extreme surface conditions, gravity 2.7 times Earth normal, atmosphere primarily sulfur dioxide, surface temperatures averaging 150 degrees Celsius. Perfect conditions for Saurians, Dr. Rao noted, but lethal for humans without protection. Admiral Rice studied the tactical display. "We're not here to engage, just to gather intelligence. Maintain distance and passive scans only." But as they orbited cautiously, their presence didn't go unnoticed. The installation's defenses activated, and a communication beam targeted their vessel. "They're hailing us," the communications officer reported with surprise. On the main screen appeared the scaled face of High Commander Vex himself. His yellow eyes widened slightly at the sight of humans commanding a vessel with Saurian technology. "Admiral Reyes," he said, recognizing her from intelligence reports. "You've come far from your mining station." "High Commander Vex," she acknowledged. "We came to understand who we're dealing with." Vex studied her for a moment. "And what have you learned?" "That our species are more different than I imagined possible," Reyes replied honestly. "You evolved to survive conditions that would kill us instantly. We evolved to adapt to changing conditions that would leave you vulnerable." "An accurate assessment," Vex admitted. "Which makes me curious. Why come here?" "To scout for a future attack." Reyes considered her response carefully. "To determine if further conflict is necessary." This caught Vex by surprise. "Explain." "We've studied your technology, your biology, your apparent needs. Your empire seems to focus on worlds humans would never inhabit, high gravity, toxic environments that suit your physiology. We have no interest in such worlds. The universe is vast enough that our expansion need not conflict." Dr. Rao stepped forward. "High Commander, our analysis suggests your species evolved for strength and durability in specific extreme conditions. Ours evolved for adaptability across varying conditions. Both are valid evolutionary strategies, but they've led us to value different kinds of worlds." Vex was silent for a long moment, considering this perspective. "You propose coexistence, after we attempted to conquer your world." "We propose recognition of mutual strengths," Reyes answered. "You underestimated us because we seemed physically weak. We might similarly underestimate constraints in your adaptability. Further conflict would cost both sides greatly." The communication channel went silent as Vex consulted with others off-screen. When he returned, his posture had subtly changed. "Your proposal has merit," he said finally. "I will convey it to the Imperial Council. Until then, a temporary cessation of hostilities would be prudent." "Agreed," Reyes said. As the communication ended, Dr. Rao turned to Reyes. "Do you think they'll actually consider peace?" "They're intelligent," Reyes replied. "And from what we've learned, their expansion has always been calculatedly pragmatic. If we can demonstrate that war with Earth costs more than it gains them, they'll find another path." The Pathfinder mission returned to Earth with detailed scans of the Saurian colony and the unexpected development of provisional diplomatic contact. Over the following months, communication continued through established channels. Eventually, representatives from both species met on a neutral space station constructed in the asteroid belt. The Saurian delegates struggled with Earth's standard gravity and atmosphere, while the human representatives required breathing apparatus in the Saurian-optimized conference chamber. But they talked. What emerged was the beginning of an unusual relationship, not friendship exactly, but mutual recognition. The Saurian Empire agreed to recognize Earth's sovereignty and its claim to the solar system. In exchange, humans would share their rapid adaptation techniques, particularly in environmental engineering, which the Saurians found valuable for colony development. 1 year after the first Saurian ship appeared in Earth's skies, High Commander Vex stood beside Admiral Rice as they formalized the interspecies accord. "I still find it remarkable," Vex admitted privately. "We believed strength came only from harsh origins, that species from comfortable worlds would inevitably be weak." "Strength takes many forms," Rice replied. "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, as humans say. But so does what forces you to think differently." Vex considered this. Perhaps true strength lies not in the ability to endure unchange, but in the capacity to change when necessary. As they looked out at the stars visible through the station's observation dome, both leaders contemplated the vast universe beyond, filled with worlds suited to different kinds of life, and challenges that would require all forms of strength to overcome. "There will be other species out there," Rice said. "Some evolved for conditions we can't imagine." "Then perhaps," Vex suggested, "the greatest strength of all is knowing when to fight, and when to learn from each other instead."